Well, welcome to Lead Full Circle. This is episode 12, and we have an absolute honor today to talk through leadership with Jason Simpson. Just extremely excited about the conversations we're going to have today as we talk about leadership in all areas of life. Before we begin, just a reminder to go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and comment. That's very helpful and a big deal. So again, just encourage you to do that. But before we begin with the conversations with Jason Simpson, I want to just kind of introduce everybody, if you don't already know, but I'm sure we all do know Jason Simpson, but a little bit about him before we dive into our leadership conversations. So first, Jason Simpson is the chief meteorologist for WVTM 13, a role he has held since joining the station in 2022. With over 25 years of experience, he is a seasoned and Emmy award-winning meteorologist with a deep history of covering Alabama's weather. Before his time at WVTM 13, Jason served as a principal scientist at Dynetics and was the chief meteorologist at WHNT News 19 in Huntsville, and he was there for a decade. He has provided critical coverage during major weather events, including Hurricane Ivan, Hurricane Katrina, and the April 27th, 2011 tornado outbreak, as well as the North Alabama flash floods and Christmas in the year 2015. His dedication to keeping Alabama safe is a cornerstone of his career. Jason's academic background includes graduating at the top of his class from Mississippi State University in 2001. He also attended Wallace State Community College before continuing his studies at Mississippi State. Away from his professional duties, Jason values his time with his family. He is a devoted husband to his wife, Lacey, and a father to their 3 children, Walt, who is 13, Shelby, 12, and Brody, 10. He is also a deacon and 5th grade Sunday school teacher at Valleydale Church in Hoover, Alabama. So we are excited to welcome Jason Simpson into our Lead Full Circle podcast and episode today. Jason, thank you so much for just taking time to talk to us about leadership.
Hey, it's an honor to be here with you. From the moment I got the invitation, I was excited about it, and let's get right to it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive in. So I want to start kind of early in your career, and just a simple question: kind of what first drew you into meteorology?
It's something that I've always loved. And I think a lot of people that are my age, mid 40s, headed toward 50s, we had that moment of time in our life where we just saw something that we loved and wanted to run for it. And weather was just something that I was always interested in. We had the benefit of growing up in Coleman County, of seeing both Birmingham and Huntsville television. So even in an era without cable or satellite, I was able to watch multiple people doing the weather, gathering characteristics that I liked about what they presented, and of course, hanging on every word they said to try to learn everything I possibly could. But it's just something that I've always learned, and always loved, and it was a natural fit for this to be my career.
Yeah, that's really neat to hear. And when you think about kind of your early time in your career as a meteorologist, is there a time or a moment that you think about when leadership wasn't just about forecasting the weather. It was about kind of guiding people through those uncertain times?
Yeah. When you're dealing with television communications during disasters, it becomes that a lot more than just simply talking about weather, because you realize, like, for example, on April 27th, 2011, I carry a burden from that, because I realized that my voice was the last voice that some of those people heard before the tornado hit them. And still to this day, I get emotional about thinking about how serious that is, and how serious we have to take ourselves when we are in situations like that. And regardless of whether you're the chief meteorologist or the mornings or the weekends, if you're the one talking, you have to be able to lead through that situation.
So as you talk about just being the last voice that maybe some heard before, unfortunately, a tornado may have struck near them or close to maybe someone within their family, that's a lot that kind of puts things in perspective real quick, and I just being in a school system and being a principal and administrator, perspective's a big deal. I think a lot of times we lose perspective in the true meaning of leadership. Maybe how things have changed over time and your leadership belief and values.
Oh, I would say that my values have changed tremendously over 25 years of doing this. I got my first chief meteorologist job at 22 years old, which is pretty much unheard of. It was in a small television station in Meridian, Mississippi. And back then, I was expecting perfection. We're going to do this perfect. We're going to make sure that we don't make any mistakes. And as perfect as we could get the weather product, well, it's a training market. So, I would have a weekend person that would come in that's never been on television, never even talked in front of a crowd before. And suddenly I'm trying to train them up. And instead of being a Nick Saban style, grab the face mask and coach them that way, you start learning how to coach people up. And really with the generations from really, I'm a Gen Xer. So from millennials down, it's a totally different ball game on how to lead than it was for my parents and for my grandparents and the boomers generation and the greatest generation. They were very much that Nick Saban style of leadership where I'm going to shout you down until you do what you're supposed to do. But these days, it's more about coaching up. And I have had to change that mentality drastically because I was taught with the grab the face mask style.
Right.
And I'm having to learn on the fly how not to do that.
That's really good. And that kind of ties into my next question. So like during severe weather where everybody's watching, everybody's listening to everything you're saying and then telling them on TV. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure I can imagine as a meteorologist. And people are literally relying on your guidance during that severe weather. So how do you lead yourself, but also, like you just mentioned, your team around you when that pressure moments kind of own you?
It's a weird mix of being engaged and disengaged at the same time. Like if I start thinking about everything that is possibly going wrong, or if I start thinking about individuals that might be in the path of the storm, then I might let emotion get a little bit too involved in the situation. If I stay somewhat disengaged from that side and just focus on doing the next right thing, then I found that that's a lot more successful than trying to be emotional and trying to get a response out of people. Some guys will pull out their phone and say, I'm going to call my wife right now. No, no. My job when I'm in severe weather is to talk to you. And there might be 10,000 people watching. There might be 200,000 people watching. I don't know how many are there until we find out from ratings reports later on. And it's not about a ratings show. I have a passion and a love for the people of this state. And in those moments, I think it may be like law enforcement, where we're doing the job. We're going to get emotional later. We'll unpack it later. We'll deal with the emotions at a different time. Right now, our mission is to communicate this threat and get as many people to safety as possible.
Man, that's good. You stay focused on your mission as a leader, and you don't let I guess you could call the outside distractions get you off your focus of your mission. That's really good advice. Sticking with that theme, is there any specific habit or true discipline? You kind of mentioned it right there, but that really helps you stay calm in that moment and really stay focused on the mission?
Well, it's not something that we get to talk about on television very much, and really not even on social media. But there's a lot of prayer ahead of time, making sure that I'm focused where I need to be, and that my desire is not for myself, but to use the skills that God has given me to protect his people. And so that's how I see the job. And I think if you want to go back down to the very root of it, that would be the discipline. Because if I understand who I'm serving and I keep my focus on that, then I'll do the job correctly. And I won't worry about all the distractions, all the silly little notes that you're getting about covering up programming. We deal with that later. Right now, the discipline is just being focused on service. And sometimes it does require a little exercise later to unwind from it. Yeah. But in that moment, it is all about just, hey, my focus is on my mission that God has given me.
That's so good. In one of my previous episodes or lessons I talked about, it's titled Leading Beyond Yourself. And that is all about what's in you. What are the values you stand for and believe in? And that should be how you lead. They should come out of you and flow out of you as you lead. So prayer life for me is also important. So it's so awesome to hear you say that. And it's just a testament to you again of why you're such a good leader, why people just follow your lead because you do it the right way. So thank you so much for sharing that. And kind of tying into that topic a little bit more, I'm a big believer in trying to find a positive in every situation and being an encouraging voice as a leader to others we work with. So kind of behind the cameras, behind the scenes, how are there certain things you do with your team to encourage them, to build them up during all types of situations? Just overall, just how do you try to encourage those you work with?
Well, my leadership style involves as much dad humor as possible. So I just try to make them at ease around me. Make
Mm,
sure that, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, I'm here to serve you, because if I'm not serving, then I'm not leading. I think I had the wrong idea 25 years ago when I was first getting into this business that, the higher you climb, you get to be the boss and you get to tell everybody else what to do. When in reality, if you are the boss, then if you're not pulling the hardest, you're not doing your job. So I want to try to live in front of my team in such a way that they know I have their back, and that they know that I am going to be out there in front trying to lead the way the whole time, so that they don't have to take the brunt of criticism. I'm going to stand up for them. I'm going to protect them from anything that's coming our way when it comes to negativity. So we also do things together. We'll go have breakfast and talk, and it's not always about work. It's just sitting
mm.
around getting to know each other. So I try to make it as easy as possible to be approachable, to make sure that they know that I'm here for them.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just it sounds just the relationship you build with the people you work with is a priority for you, and that goes a long way during those stressful moments. When you've got severe weather, whatever it may be. And so again, that's awesome advice you give us. So at Lead Full Circle, the big emphasis for me has been, a lot of times I feel like leadership is emphasized at work, as it should be, but I feel like a lot of times we leave leadership out of the conversation at home with our family. So I kind of want to transition now to talk about your family and leadership within your family. So I want to start kind of with a work-life balance type question. And I'm sure your schedule is very demanding and can be very unpredictable at times. There may be times where I don't know, but you may have to leave home to come to the studio to forecast weather. Just saying all that, how do you protect your family time and ensure that they feel valued with a very demanding and unpredictable type schedule?
Isn't that the biggest question of all for any of us?
Mm-hmm.
The best way that I do it is I try to make sure that the kids and that my wife know that I love them, and that, dad's going to be back when I'm back. But there's also going to be those times when I'm not here, and I might not be here for 2 days because I might get stuck up on that mountain in a snowstorm, or I might have to run in and cover. You say unpredictable. Meteorologists, we don't like that term.
Right,
we
right.
like to say that it snuck in on us or something
Yeah.
like that. But there have been plenty of times where we had plans. We were planning to do something at dinner, planning to go somewhere, and the weather has changed that.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do a good job of teaching the kids, is like, look, this is what I signed up for. When we left Huntsville to come back down here to Birmingham, we signed up for dad to have this life again where I work at night. I come home and see you guys most every evening. And there are going to be some evenings where I can't do that. There are going to be some mornings where I'm not standing there with you at the bus. There are going to be some days that you want me to come eat lunch with you that I can't, because that's what my job is. But at the end of the day, we're all working together to try to reach that common goal of being a united family. And I think we're achieving that right now. We were having a difficult time toward the end of my tenure at WHNT. I didn't get to see them as much, and they were very small, and they had a hard time understanding it. But I've got two in middle school now, one that's at the intermediate school at Oak Mountain, and they get it. And I try to make sure that along the way they feel as loved as possible. They're welcome in this room, in this TV station, whenever they want to be here. And there have been a lot of nights that we've been teetering on the edge of, well, we might have to go on. So they'll come up here and sit with me and bring me something to eat. And then they know if I've got to run over to the studio, that it's time to go, and they'll wrap it up. So we have a good understanding. It's all about good communication. If you're honest with them and they see that you are living honestly in every other area of your life, they don't get quite as angry when you're not home for dinner tonight.
Right. You mentioned earlier in that part of your conversation about they know that you love them. And I'm going to ask you this question. It's kind of off script a little bit, but to me, I feel like as a dad, it's so important that my daughter hears me tell them that I love her, that she knows by my actions I love her, but I want her to hear me tell her I love her. So does that resonate anywhere with you, just as far as how you show your love, how you talk about it to your kids?
Oh, for sure. I try to be as just bare bones honest as possible, and say, hey, dad loves you. Or, the biggest thing about, I think, being a dad is knowing when you've stepped over a line and you have to apologize. And, sometimes in a job like this, you got a lot of pressure on you. You might say something that you don't mean, and you have to come back and admit to that. And I have found that the more honest I am with them, even in my mistakes, the easier it is for them to know that, yeah, I know he's telling me he loves me, but he's also showing me that.
Yeah. So that is a perfect transition into our next question. I believe as leaders at work and within our family that we're talking about right now, as a leader, we have to model what we want. So if we're going to say, as a family, we're going to be great, we're going to show a sense of being grateful for things. Well, as a leader of our house, I've got to always show that and exemplify what being grateful is all about. So is there something within your family that you're very intentional on in modeling a leadership quality or value for your kids?
We're big on, I do what I say I'll do. I want people to be able to take my family for our word. If we say we're going to do something, short of making a mistake and forgetting about it, or some kind of emergency getting in the way, if we say we're going to be somewhere, if we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And that's probably the number one thing that I preach to them all the time. And I never want to put God second, but there are a lot of days that I don't get to be home and do devotion with them at night, or to have a prayer time with them at night. So I try to say, okay, we said we're going to do this, so now it's up to you. You have to be the ones that do this tonight because dad can't be there. So yeah, we do what we say we're going to do. That's the primary thing for us.
That's that's really good advice. And kind of transitioning to our marriage, that's so important to the strength of our marriage. And I think with both of our jobs, I know your job is very demanding and my job can be very demanding at times. And our spouse being supportive of us in our careers is such a big deal. So how has your wife and your marriage, how have you seen that, just the support system of your marriage and your love for each other? How has that kind of carried you on and helped you through your leadership journey with meteorology?
My wife is my biggest fan and my biggest cheerleader. And I know that anytime that I have to come up here on a Saturday or a Sunday, there's never any, I wish that you didn't have to do that. Never any, there's no animosity to it at all. She just says, I know you're going to do a great job. You're going to do a great job. I'm praying for you. I'm supporting you. And then there's those moments, social media, people are tearing you up because you interrupted Saturday Night Live or some football game or whatever it might be. And, she's ready to go to battle for me. And I'm telling her, no, you don't have to do that. It'll be okay. This thing will blow over. But, I know she loves me because she is ready to go to absolute war anytime
Right.
somebody says something bad about her husband. So, I mean, she's just incredibly supportive. When we made the decision for me to go from working at Dynetics on Redstone Arsenal back to television, she was all for it. She said, this is what you were made to do. So let's do this. Let's go. Let's conquer the world here.
Yeah. So now transitioning to more of your faith, your values, your legacy that you want to leave as a leader. What I've talked a lot here lately about kind of the non-negotiables leaders should have, meaning they should, as leaders, we should be obedient to the values that we believe in and not give in to what's convenient or the easy way out and give up what we stand for. as a leader. So what are some, just when you think about your non-negotiables, the values you truly believe in as a leader, kind of what comes to your mind when you hear that?
Well, I think it's number one, I'm going to outwork anybody.
I love that.
You're going to see the guy who's supposed to be leading doing the job and doing it with excellence. The other part of it, I think, would be honesty. When I fail, I need to admit it to my team. And there have been times lately that I've had to admit, hey guys, I dropped the ball on this, and thank you for picking it up. And that probably would be the third part is making sure that you're grateful to the people that are rallying around you to get a job done. So, it's all about honesty and integrity and just being real with people.
Yeah. So how has your faith shaped the way you lead at work and at home?
And it's changed a lot over the years too, because my faith has strengthened. I have a completely different relationship with the Lord now than I did, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And a lot of that has to do with my youngest and the health problems that Brody's had over the years, the number of hospitalizations. I have become a much more servant leader kind of boss when it comes down to it. Before that, I said that I was a servant leader, but I really wasn't. Once I really saw life-changing things happening to me, and I saw that my employees were coming to my assistance, even though I really wasn't serving them much. They were the ones coming to me. They were bringing us food. They were taking up slack on shifts that I couldn't cover, never saying boo about it, having to work a weekend that they weren't scheduled for because I couldn't be there to help out with the schedule rotation. When I saw that, it made me realize truly what servant leadership means. And that means that I'm going to get my hands dirtier than you, and I'm going to take care of you as much as I can.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I kind of want to go back to a part, and I don't want to get too personal by no means, but I think everybody was aware that your son had some health issues at some point, and I'm sure that was a very challenging time for your family. So my question is, when a family has a very tough situation, a challenging circumstance that they're working through as a family, kind of what is your advice to families, you being a leader of a family? Kind of what is your biggest point of emphasis you would encourage other families that may be going through struggles? How could you encourage them if they're going through some tough times right now?
I think that when it comes to the battles that we all face in life, everybody's is going to be a little bit different when it comes
Right.
to what you consider tough. For some people, a child having their tonsils out and then having to go back a couple of times because they're having some pain, that may be the toughest thing you ever have to deal with. And if that is, then you don't understand what that other guy is going through over there that's got a kid that's in 2 different hospitals across multiple states, having multiple surgeries, but
Right.
it's still important. So I think that the biggest encouragement that I could give someone who's trying to lead a family through that is don't give up. Do not lay down and quit on your family. They need you just as much as you need them. And if you lay down arms and you just say, I can't do this anymore, I'm out, which it seems like more and more people are choosing that option these days, all that does is destroy the family, and it destroys friendships and relationships. It destroys neighborhoods over things like that. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep on going. And that's the mentality that you got to have when the times get tough, because you're already in the middle of it. You don't have an option but to keep going. When Brody was born at Huntsville Hospital on May 8th, 2015, and we got this cascade of bad news about his health, I looked at Lacey at that moment and I said, okay, look, this is that moment where we have to decide how we're going to face this. We can either let this crush us, or we can let it put pressure on us and turn coal into a diamond. And I would like to think that the Lord has allowed us to turn this whole situation into a diamond, because the family is stronger than ever. The kids are doing great. Brody's doing great. And I'm grateful that the Lord gave me the wisdom to be able to keep going no matter what.
Wow, that's so powerful. It's so encouraging to hear from my perspective. And yes, for my family, but I think about the kids that I see every day and the family situations they may come from. And then also we talk about not quitting. That is so relevant for kids this day and time, because I think a lot of times our kids, if something's not going their way with a certain sport, with a certain team, with a certain program, club, whatever it may be at school, they take the easy way out and they quit. And if they could learn that valuable lesson early in life, not to quit, then maybe that will stick with them when they get older with their family, and they will stick through those tough times with their family. So, wow, that's really, really good advice. And I appreciate you sharing all that. So still tying into kind of your faith, your values, and your legacy, really more so right here. When people look back on your leadership throughout your career, what is something you want people to remember and say about Jason Simpson as a leader at work, but also at home?
I want them to say he cared about me and he expected excellence. And those two things together made me better.
Mm.
If I can help you improve, if I can do anything to challenge you to take who you are to the next level, then I feel like I've been successful. And that's what I want people to remember me as. Unfortunately, I've made a whole lot of mistakes over the years, and those are going to be pretty memorable too. But the older I get, the better I'm getting at being the builder and not just the guy that's barking out orders.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good stuff. Jason Simpson, this has been absolutely incredible. A great conversation. I've learned so much just sitting here asking questions and listening to you, and so much good wisdom and advice you've given us to leaders. So again, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. This has been so impactful, and I'm excited to share this with everybody. And for us, again, this platform is just about growing leaders, growing together, make an impact at work, but not leave your family out of it either. Just go full circle back with your family. So thank you so much for joining us today and helping us with this episode.
You're welcome. It's been an honor to be with you and talk with you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you again for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you next time on Lead Full Circle. So thank you for tuning in and listening to these conversations with Jason Simpson. A reminder of my YouTube channel, if you've enjoyed these episodes and the leadership conversations we've talked through, please subscribe, like, and comment. That's a big deal and very helpful. Also, a reminder of my website, leadfullcircle.net, and great resources that will apply to all leadership in all areas of life. Go check it out. Thanks for tuning in and watching this episode. Again, a huge shout out to Jason Simpson for doing this for us here at Lead Full Circle. And a lot of great takeaways from Jason. So thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.